We're in Sterling Heights, Michigan with the Hansons-Brooks Media Day just before the U.S. Olympic Team Trials Men's Marathon, which will be in New York in early November. And one of the folks we have here is a veteran of 2 trials, Clint Verran. Clint, this is your 3rd trials. What do you know now that you didn't know in 2000 in Pittsburgh?
Well, I know that anything can happen in a marathon. It's just an unpredictable event by itself. You got to be ready for anything. Weather can be hot and cold. The favorites can run well. The favorites can not run well. There's a lot of crazy things that can go on, so you just need to be prepared for just about anything.
Well, the marathon distance really kind of does that, and that's what makes the marathon races so exciting. Now, there are a lot of folks who are pretty new to these trials. A couple of folks are coming back. But what are some of the things you're telling the rookies, the ones for whom this is their very first trials?
I think one of the things these young guys need to remember is that sometimes the training for a marathon is a marathon. It takes a even-tiered effort throughout many months of training, and a lot of times because something's called the Olympic trials, people try to almost do too much too soon in training, and they get away from what got them there, which is steady consistent training, keeping your lows not so low and your highs not so high, just being consistent on a daily basis and peaking at the right time.
Peaking. So peaking in early November is going to be interesting because you also have a course that nobody's ever run a race on before. What can you tell us about the course that the New York Roadrunners have set up in New York City?
Well, the majority of the course is in Central Park. It's roughly 5 laps of Central Park, and anyone that's ever run in Central Park knows that it's hilly. Actually, there's no flat areas along the roadway. They do run races there throughout the year, but usually they're 5Ks, 8Ks, or maybe even a half marathon, which is a lot different than a marathon. If you run over a hill a couple times over an 8K, you can kind of power through that hill, and it doesn't make a big difference in the outcome of the race. But when you approach that same hill for the 5th time, that makes a big difference. And that hill goes from being just a little hill to being a huge hill that you're climbing for the 5th time. So I think people are probably going to underestimate the severity and how challenging that course is in Central Park.
Well, Clint, one of the things that you're quite famous for is consistency. You've run Lord knows how many marathons, a whole lot of them, around 2:15, 2:14. How do you maintain that consistency through what's good solid 8 years now?
Well, my high school coach from Lake Orion High School, Stanford, used to say that consistent training makes consistent racing. So, that's how I train. I train every day consistently. I monitor pace. I really have a good feel for what my body's capable of. And then when we look at each marathon, and when I say we, I mean my coaches, Kevin and Keith Hansen, and I, we basically calculate and figure out, take an educated guess on what pace I'm able to run. And then the game plan is that I just run that pace. And most of the time we're pretty accurate in what I'm able to run. If you slow down a little bit at the end, that means probably that the pace you picked was a little too fast. If you have a great finish and can sprint in at the end, then the pace you picked was too slow. So ideally, you want your last mile to be the same as your first mile, and if you do that, you'll be amazed at how many people you'll pass along the way.
You're pretty good at doing that. One of the things that we haven't mentioned is that between Lake Orion High School and the Hansons-Brooks program, you ran for Eastern Michigan. What was your distance then, and did you ever think about marathons during those days?
Well, at Eastern Michigan, I ran everything from the mile up to the 10K. I really liked the steeplechase race. The 5,000 meters indoors was another race that I really liked. I was one of those guys where on the weekend when the coach wasn't around, I would go and run a 20-mile run. And I always felt pretty good about those runs. I always felt like I had a lot of energy, that I was durable, that I had a good sense of pace. So even back then, I thought to myself, 6 more miles would be a marathon. I think someday I'll have to give it a try. And luckily I did give it a try in 98 and then in 99 when I joined the Hansen squad, and luckily had some success at it. right away, and that's what really got our program steered towards the marathon distance with some of the early success in the late 90s that I had.
Well, Clint, you were 11th in Pittsburgh in the year 2000, and then you were 5th in 2004 in Birmingham. Looks like if you make a jump up, you're going to make the team. What do you think?
That's right. That's one way to look at it. 11th and 5th. What's next? A natural progression would be top 3, and obviously that's what I'm here for. If I didn't think I had a chance at that, I'd probably be doing something else. But it's one of those things where I can only prepare the best that I possibly can, and I can only just run the best race that I possibly can. And I believe I have a shot at that top 3, and if it happens, it's going to be a great story. And if it doesn't happen, I'm not going to give up the sport. Life will go on. But that's one of my goals. One of my dreams in life is to make this Olympic team. So I'm just going to try my best.
Well, Clint, we wish you all the best in making the Olympic team, but we do want to point out that you've branched out a little bit in the running movement already. You're coaching, and you've also served as a pacer, also known as a rabbit, in some pretty important races. Can you talk a little bit about being a pacer?
Sure. A lot of these big marathons, they're looking for fast times. The sponsors spend a lot of money, and they want headlines. They want American records and world records and things like that. And so a lot of times the race organizers will hire somebody that they think is good at pace. And for some reason, because I've run a lot of marathons, they think that I can run an even pace. So I've done a few of those jobs, and it's a lot of fun. It kind of gives you the excitement of a marathon without the pressure of having to win. A lot of times I'll end up pacing either a second group of men or some of the world-class women even. I've done that in Chicago a few times and in New York. So it's like a little side job. It's great work if you can find it.
And you've had some success coaching. Danielle Hobbs is one of the people who's thrived under some of the coaching you've done. Can you talk a little bit about RunGuru.com?
Yeah, well, RunGuru.com is the website that my physical therapy clinic and my coaching service operates. I wear a lot of hats over there. As a physical therapist, that I treat a lot of runners, a lot of injured runners, and running is a tough sport. You get hurt doing it sometimes, and runners really appreciate a physical therapist or even a medical person that takes their running seriously, that doesn't just give them a funny look and tell them you ought to quit running. So I treat a lot of my clients, and then a lot of my clients, once they get to know me, they're interested in some guidance in their training, and sometimes it's just a matter of writing down some workouts or taking a look at a schedule and coming up with some goals for them. And if I can help to motivate somebody, that's just a little extra bonus for me.
And it's a great bonus for them. So Clint, thank you very much for talking with us, and wish you all the best in New York in November to make that Olympic team. Thank you.
Thanks, Jenny. Thanks a lot.